Hello everybody, welcome to a new YouTube video. It's been a long time since I last updated YouTube. As I said on Twitter, I moved most of my work to Patreon, where we keep analyzing all this. I keep updating on Twitter, of course, but my main videos and everything in detail is there. But I wanted to update what I've been tracking and analyzing for months, and I posted that recently on Twitter that my videos back in May, April, and all that were already pointing to what's happening now. So the information is there, but it feels like people need to be reminded constantly. So I'm gonna give you some updates on what I think, how everything has been playing out. And let's start with Ethereum BTC, because this is going to be focused on the potential alt season. That one that people have been calling from December, every time there's been a couple of weeks of price going up for the whole market, the alt season word was already on the table, and everyone had to buckle up and all that shit, to then see that it wasn't right there. I guess one time they will be right. And it's not that it pisses me off just because they're saying something that I'm not saying. It's because they're really trapping you. I've been there in the previous cycle, and when you don't trust your own skills, you put all your confidence, which is a mistake, on someone else, right? So you trust them because you think they know more than you do, and you get fucked, especially with altcoins, which are so volatile that holding them for the long term is a big mistake, in my opinion. I'm not saying you have to trade them daily, but know how to exit, to perhaps enter later on, or just enter in a new coin. So let's take a look back at what I said back in March, right? I said that if we take a look at the 50 weekly EMA, right? Let me show you why I think it's important. It's been acting as support for BTC, and I'm gonna show you here for a second why I say this. I have already explained this many times, okay? But I'm gonna show you what I mean. If we open the 50, which is the yellow line, we can see that this cycle, let me switch to the weekly first. We can see that this cycle, since they reclaim here in the bottom, being a retest here in September, summer 24, as I said, and the local bottom that I thought could be, and I was convinced it was back in April. So being above is being in a bull market. Being below, like losing it here in 2021, was a bear market. Simple, right? So by that metric, Ethereum BTC, sorry, back then in March, was in a complete bear market since it lost the 50 eventually here in January 23. All these impulses, right, to get rejected, this was, remember, February, early 2024, March, an impulse here in July and summer as well. All these were rejections, and people were screaming for all season. Even here in late 2024, which is no man's land for Ethereum BTC, everyone was calling again for the all season, right? And I said it's been in a bear market, right? That's why Ethereum BTC bottoms have failed over and over again. And after that, I posted that here in March, that Ethereum BTC looks atrocious. No signs of life. It was here. The monthly looked a constant rejection, and I'm going to show you why, how it has changed now. And then I posted that if there is a place for Ethereum BTC to bounce, is this macro support, which was the bottom in 2021, right? It was the only place with decent support, because these areas are not really that big of a base to start thinking about real support. This was a double bottom, which here in 2016 and 2017 was also some kind of support and resistance, right? Like an area that could hold, right? So if people expect a broad alt season, I posted that Ethereum must find its bottom against BTC first. So this is the area that I expected. And And I have shown that this was the bottom area. I'm not a genius, it's just about probabilities. We can see that here in April, it was the most oversold, the weekly, remember, the most oversold it's ever been. Ethereum BTC, remember that. Same as 2019, which aligns, it reinforces the idea of this being a potential bottom area. I also said that it didn't have to take so long because this was like September 19 to the top in May, like a year and a half. That would imply getting into late 26. I said that it didn't have to be like that because the price action down here was more vertical. This looked like a perfect control demolition. You can see how after losing the 50, it became resistance, 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 and then the 10 and the 20 band, which is this red area, became resistance. And now, the first impulse was into resistance but a higher low. Now we break, and for now we are holding the 50. As I said, being below the 50 is being in a bear market, and being above the 50 is being in a bull market, right? In the previous cycle, we started chopping, right? And after finding the bottom, we made a new base. So what was resistance became support. But this was taking time. You don't find a bottom to fully send, right? Bottom formation, it takes time. It's been hurting for so long that it's not going to be a straight line. If it were, it wouldn't be sustainable. And perhaps the run that everyone wants to see now would be shorter. So give it some time, right? Give Ethereum BTC some time to really reclaim everything. In fact, here in December, when everything really started running, 28th December, early January, when people were desperate, Ethereum BTC was crossing for the first time, potentially holding, I'm making higher highs here. It was the first attempt here that failed. But it was crossing all the weekly MAs. The last one for now is 0045, which I said, if we pay attention to this and we think this is valid, it should also be reclaimed. To fully send. I'm basing it on previous data. I'm not saying it has to, but it's the first step, in my opinion. And it's aligning with the stage at which BTC dominance is right now. I'm going to show you that chart now. So what am I explaining all this? Because we have just left the bottom behind like a few months ago. We're still working our way out, right? Turning things around. Reclaiming the first area that makes Ethereum enters in a bull run, which is why it's been doing so well recently against BTC, of course, right? So that means if we follow these metrics, that we are still early in the potential alt season. Not in the alt season yet, in my opinion. We need to claim and climb more levels here. And that aligns with BTC dominance dropping from current levels. Let's take a look. This is the weekly. This is the previous cycle. The first small drop was around this area, which was pretty much coinciding with this first big drop. Am I saying that it needs to flick back up? Not necessarily. But again, let's apply the same metric. If the yellow line, which is the 50 weekly, is bull market support band, right? Like the bull market, a moving average. If you are above, you're in a bull market. If you are below, you're in a bear market, no matter the coin or the asset. We can see that since the bear market bottom, BTC dominance has been not only above the 50, but right in the 10 and the 20 exponential moving averages. This fake out in Q4, it was a perfect fake out because it faked below the 50, but it reclaimed it and the trend continued. Here we printed the first recent. I'm not gonna go that far back. You could, but I'm not gonna go that far back. The first weekly divergence. Various divergence right into the Fibonacci 0.78, like 66%. Getting rejected. On Patreon, we discussed that this area would probably be support and a bounce. Why? Because it's the next Fibonacci and it's the 50. So far, the 50 is holding. What's the difference with these for now, with Q4? You can see the very strong reaction at the 50. For now, we have a very ugly candle at the weekly. And the next one, even though it's bouncing, it's not, which is this week, it's not looking that strong for now. The daily, which is why I said on Patreon that it would really, really bounce. Look at the oversold levels on the daily. Local top that I posted that people were getting too excited. Even in Q4, the final bounce was from way higher RSI levels. So of course it's going to bounce. The question is, it needs to be a relief rally, which means the trend is down. We bounce back just because it's very oversold, but we continue the downtrend. And for that, we need, apart from the 50 weekly, which is the yellow line that I've been showing, this is the 200, this orange line is the 200, this is the daily, so all these are daily moving averages. And to be in a bull market, you need to be above all of them, especially the orange one, which is the 200. We can see several retests here. Fake out in the daily, but this was the bounce from the 50 weekly that I just saw, the yellow line. I hope you're following me. So now what we need to do is, as I explained on Patreon, is that we don't need to see a higher low and break above the MAs because that would be over. The difference is here, there was a slight bullish divergence. Together with a bearish divergence on BTC, bullish divergence on USDT, it's all a combination, which is what helped me find potential local bottom in December. Now we don't have any bullish divergence, just very oversold levels. Bounce at a very expected level. What I'm seeing now is, for now, perfectly rejected at the 200. Another attempt. And now it's not even getting to the 200. It's rejected by the 10 and the 20 band. It's a lower high for now. If we want to start thinking about very short time frame price action, which is the daily starting on July 22nd, this could be a bearish divergence that could confirm that this is just a relief rally. Again, this is all high time frame structure. You know, many people say that nothing is in a straight line. Even a climb, even this could be the daily. The weekly could look like this, and the monthly just like this. But in between, the lower the time frame, the more choppy it might look. But again, you go back down, you retest varies, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and that's a downtrend, right? What I mean by this is you make this lower low, now have to reject the dailies, hopefully at the 200, and the next time you attack the Fibonacci and the 50, which is more or less at the same place, you lose them. There might be another attempt now from below, and confirm, okay, this that was support here, was support here, it was March confirmation that we're back, and support for now, this becomes resistance for the first time in a long time, right? So this could be something like this. So we finally break the trend. And that would imply losing the 50. If we lose the Fibonacci, we lose the 50. Perhaps let's say we bounce from the 100, right? So we do something like this. That would be ideal. That would be great. It seems it's bouncing now. Let's say we bounce from the, we rejected the 200. I just showed that. Now we need to lose. If we bounce again from here, danger. It could be like a double bottom. And alts could suffer still more. Which aligns with Ethereum BTC still needing way more time than most people anticipate. As I explained that. It needs more time. But again, this could be the right way. We need to lose the 50. We haven't lost the 50 decisively and become resistance, make it resistance. Sorry, I'm gonna remove all this. We haven't done that this cycle yet. Previous cycle, the final drop was at 1085 days. That would be, in this case, if you think this is gonna happen exactly the same at least wait for it to be invalidated, because this is like 25th of August. So what if we have this bounce, or that's the bounce already, and we start breaking, and by the time we do, it's just the end of August. Why do I say this? Because when we lost it here, this was already the end of January, because the drop was sharper, but we lost the 50 and we started it became resistance, chopping. In all these chops, alts were pushing. The final drop, confirming that, okay, we are below the EMA, no strength, and with the final drop into very oversold levels on the weekly. So we need to go through that. And I also said if we go into a higher time frame, that we need this, a monthly cross of the EMA decisively. This is what we have. This is the old season. People expect this to be as brutal as it was. Why? You can see the way up wasn't like that. I also said that the fact that it has been so, I'm not going to say blow off top, but very small corrections in between, could make it that by the time we drop hard. So we got to be ready. For now, look at this monthly candle. So in terms of moving averages, we could say that this is the Q4, the week, the candle for Q4. It was a week within the 10 and the 20. So I would say that not only losing all the weekly levels and daily levels that I said, which is pretty much this area, the Fibonacci, I would say that losing the lower band, which currently is 58.46, would be the confirmation that, okay, we're back. We're in the old season, I mean. It's finally here. But as I said many times, by the time we get here, you have already go through a lot of gains. So if you wait for confirmation, it could be late. The same way here, everybody was saying no old season, early January. If you've been following me for a long time, you have seen my post on Twitter about it. And by the time January ended, look at the drop from BTC dominance. Some chop in between and the weekly. So these weeks are weekly and daily pushes back and forth. But again, the trend is down. Most people can't freaking focus on high time frame, glued to the low time frame noise, which is designed to chop you out. It's as simple as that. And considering how volatile crypto is, it's pointless to be paying attention to low time frame. Pointless. So we need in Q4 this week that eventually came back up. This was temporarily also below the EMA, but it ended up being a retest. So we need to decisively lose these. And this month is shaping to be the first one, this whole cycle that the RSI-EMA crosses bearishly. The first time. And do you think it's a coincidence? Because I said one of the key aspects that most people are ignoring because they can't focus beyond the freaking hourly chart and from just their specific shitcoin is this. For the first time this cycle, Ethereum BTC has crossed the EMA. Getting rejected in August 22, November 22, May 23. Oh, the freaking old season in Q4, am I right? May 24, nope. Now, very high historical oversold levels. And now, here in June, July, which is this huge candle that it is allowing Ethereum BTC to reclaim the 50 weekly, which is we are back in a bull run. Coincidentally, we crossed the EMA for the first time this cycle. Do you understand that? 2017, it got as high as 85 because Ethereum really outperformed BTC. 2021, it didn't even cross 70. But again, from the cross to here, it was a long time. It was pretty much the cross was at the bottom, and then we pushed. So there's plenty of room yet, right? So it's aligning with BTC breaking for the first time. BTC dominance, sorry. So if it's breaking now in the highest time frame, why do people think, first, that all seasons should have already happened? I'm showing you here by data that it's not. and that it should end in a couple of months. Why? Why the obsession to limiting yourself to freaking time window? I know what it is, why it is. Because you want everything to go, to happen now and fast. Because of greed, because you're tired, because you want money fast. So you start looking for any kind of time window, for anyone that tells you when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, how high it's going to go. No one knows shit. If you still believe you will find the answer out there. You are just being led by your emotions. And you might not see it now, but that's what's going to make you fuck up your portfolio in a full alt season. So you think up only is easy, but if you don't follow a plan, you don't follow the metrics, the same way you've been anxious since April, when everything has been going as it should in high time frame. If you get anxious when everything goes well, imagine when everything goes insane, if it does, and you don't know when to stop, when to exit. What do I do? Right? Do I exit? Then you feel FOMO, you chase back higher, then you find, for example, a daily correction, and you think what have you done? You might ruin what you've been waiting for if you don't have a plan. And Ethereum BTC, as strong as it looks, if I go to the daily, what I see is the first signs. I'm gonna focus this. The first signs of weakness. The first various divergence here on the daily. Yes, bouncing from the EMA band, very strong impulse, great. No various divergence here, great, but starting to build one here. Could it push higher and invalidate it? Yeah. Could it build a very strong divergence that lasts, I don't know, one more month? Sure. But at some point, like it did here, for example, in July into September, 3-month divergences, it eventually corrected hard into the desperation for everyone. This was when people were really desperate, calling for no alt season, just as the freaking local bottom, because it needed to rest. It was showing weakness from the very bottom, right? So here we didn't have various divergence. That's why the corrections were just like, okay, I'm overheated, I need some time. But here it was from September to January. Do I mean by this that it has to happen the same way? No. But we have just had like 15 days of cool off just because the 4-hour daily was bearish after being overexhausted. 15 days. I have more reasons apart from that, but I'm not gonna explain that in this video. So again, there will be corrections. That's why you don't buy green candles. But again, look how we are above for the first time, strongly for the first time, which aligns with the bottom being in, above all the daily averages. Here, when everyone was calling for an alt season, it couldn't hold the 200 and it failed. Now, way different, holding the 10 and the 20. What if we come back to the orange, which means BTC outperforms Ethereum a lot? It could be just because Ethereum drops more, and it doesn't only mean it's going to be just outperforming to the upside, could be to the downside as well. So we will have corrections in between. I go to the weekly and I say, okay, we have plenty of time yet, plenty of room. Yeah, but it's not going to be a straight line, right? Here we also have plenty of room, but there were many corrections in between. So we're doing well, but that doesn't mean it's going to be instantaneously. If I go to total 3, I said many times that we are in a better position than in last cycle. We haven't crossed 70 RSI. I said many times as well that strongest moves happen above 70 RSI. We're at 64 on the weekly, of course, but we are pretty much around all-time high. So Ethereum BTC still has to climb. BTC dominance still has to break, even though it's in a good direction, both of them. They still have to break key inflection points because they could still bounce. And USDT also has to break strong levels, at least 4.11% first, 4% second. And then we talk about the 377 that I said many times. But what people don't realize because they're impatient, and this is something I cannot fix, and I've been explaining daily for months that emotions are your worst enemy. And I'm showing data and it doesn't matter. I keep getting questioned of what's going on, when is it going to happen. Guys, you are cooked if you think like that. I'm sorry, but you are cooked. Change your mentality, build a plan around data, or you're going to fuck up a whole bull run. And honestly, I shouldn't care, but I've been through a bull market that I could have make a Forex when I was a complete noob, and I didn't sell, and I dragged more than a 90% drop into a bear market that is really, really painful, emotionally speaking. So if you're suffering in a bull market, get ready for a bear market. Back holding. Right? I'm just trying to help. But again, we are not even crossing all-time high when things are still not in full send mode. By the time Ethereum BTC was finding its bottom, blah, 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 December still not fully sending, we were, as I said plenty of times, but I'm going to say it one more time. We were around this area, right? Look where we are around all-time high. Like what? 2, 3, 4%? Here, again, this is total 3. Still, 130% for the whole total 3 market to break all-time high. So we might enter price discovery before crossing 70 RSI. And then you have price discovery, which is always very strong, above 70 RSI. That would imply BTC dominance breaking key levels. And that would imply also Ethereum BTC probably reclaiming even more high time frame levels. Some rest in between, some weekly correction, I still expect one, because you cannot have everything running for months and months and months without some kind of correction in between. This is the weekly, and for example here, this whole bull run you have here in February, for example, a 34% drop. Yes, it was bought in a week or two. Yes, that's what happened when you're in full send mode in this area. But a 34% kind of drop for 7 days or 14 days with people, this is the whole market. So your shitcoin could be like 60% down in a week. And if you're suffering now, imagine you being obsessed for hours in those 1 or 2 weeks while you see your shitcoin dropping. Just giving you the data. So again, we could really, really enter in a very strong season. Why do I say this? Again, nothing has really broken into the full euphoria phase. You have the RSI-wise, the BTC dominance level, the Ethereum BTC levels, right? And we are very close to all-time high. Others, which is normally weaker and lagging, is also very close to all-time high. What are we talking about? Right? 50%. From the current bottom, right? Here, for example, in a month, less than a month, let's say a month, it did pretty much what it does and what it needs to do now to break all-time high. Look at the weekly. We're still climbing in a new leg. It's like saying we're here. So we haven't entered this full send mode. Not even here. What about the monthly, which is the highest time frame? We just crossed the EMA. We just crossed the EMA. So you expect something like the previous cycle. We just crossed the EMA. Bouncing from the 50, bouncing from the 50. And then we ride the 10 and the 20 because full send mode is pretty much right in this band. What are we even talking about? We are just waking up. And this cycle, we haven't even crossed 70 RSI. And look what the magic happens. The full send mode happens. 2017. Above the 70 and right in the 10 and the 20. Both for the monthly and the weekly. Last cycle. Again, so what are we doing now? This, even if you don't believe it, because this is the monthly and it's perhaps very difficult for you to understand because price changes a lot in all this. This is a range. And in my opinion, if you believe in an all season, this is just an accumulation range. You might think I'm crazy. Oh, okay, because price is already too high. Why? Because Crypto God 69 said that on Twitter. Okay. What about this then? In the last cycle. So this is not an accumulation either. Oh yeah, but this was the bottom. Yeah, that's why I said this cycle is stronger. Look at the RSI, the bottom, starting to cross above the MA, like toying here. Yes, we have bigger impulses here, but it's pretty much the same. No full euphoria yet. It's another reaccumulation range. It's another reaccumulation range into let's send. Then correct, the bear market. Golden entries, reaccumulation right below all-time high. What are we talking about? Seriously, we are in a stronger position. Perhaps you still don't believe. Let's say stock RSI, which is more sensitive than RSI. Okay. Correction in April down to January 23 before these moves to that kind of level. Down to 2019 kind of levels. Now we are here. It's like saying we are here. Isn't RSI and stock RSI more or less aligned? Don't we have plenty of time? See in January, February, March, April, all this big run that from the very bottom? Yeah, very overheated on stock RSI, not that much on RSI, which is why I believe this wasn't the cycle top. What about total 3 that is way ahead of others? Pretty much the same. Oh, what a coincidence. We didn't break 70 in March, February, not in November, not in December. This is what you're looking for. This is the monthly. Remember that. And look what the price is, how the price is looking. Look, perhaps you don't believe me, in this tremendous cap and handle that has just broken, found resistance, of course, at previous all-time high, bull flag that it's breaking, and if all-time high breaks, sky's the limit. And if all-time high breaks, we'll probably break finally 70 this cycle, and then we enter the phase we all are waiting for. And for this chart to run, we need BTC dominance to drop. Isn't it doing that? We need Ethereum BTC to outperform. Isn't it doing that? So what's invalidating all this? Nothing. Just your impatience. Crazy, I know. But it is what it is. There's nothing else. That's how I see it. Let's see. I don't know. Ethereum USDT, another coin. Look at the monthly. We just crossed here. Didn't even cross 70 RSI this cycle. And what I see now, we're around the 4K area, which I said is it's a very strong level. But above that, it's just pretty much all-time high. So you see this chart, and you're bearish. Or you think we should have run already for some reason. Look at stock RSI. Look at RSI. Ethereum hasn't crossed either. BTC is normally leading, right? So RSI and stock RSI should be higher, right? Let's take a look. This is the monthly. Stock RSI is already higher. The monthly is crossing 70 RSI, which is why BTC is leading, and it's printed twice. It's broken previous all-time high last cycle twice. It is leading, but again, still not in this crazy area. It's crossing now. What do we need to see? These not rejecting, these breaking. If we reject, ugly. If we break, Valhalla. But again, monthly. What about the weekly? We didn't break even 70 RSI. When things fly, as I said, right? Let's see. Potential various divergence here. Let's see if it plays out or not. Again, stock RSI is always way more sensitive. You can see that price was here going down, and stock RSI was chopping quite a lot, so not giving real signal. Perhaps this bullish divergence into flat RSI. But again, not crossing 70 RSI. Just slightly in December 24. Only in March we did, because it was like 6 months running. This is all we've had close to any kind of euphoria. But the monthly wasn't. So again, we're still far, in my opinion. Again, if everything runs super hot, every oscillator will climb fast, and we might enter that area fast. But the fact that we haven't, that this daily, for example, takes so long is because we haven't crossed 70 RSI, in my opinion. That's how I interpret it. Full send mode, we can send and send and send, and various divergences could be just bought quickly, and we keep sending and sending. The daily becomes the weekly overheated, and the overheated in the sense of being in the strong area, right? Not just because here it all sends, and at the same time, when we are above like 90, 85, 90, it's get out area. But again, we need to be above 70 to fully send. We are not there yet, so it could take time, right? Several weeks, could be a month, 2 months, to start seeing that. So I think it will probably enter in Q4. How long? Again, I don't care. We need levels, we need prices, and we need signs. How long it all takes, who cares? Do you want to become one of those calling for Ethereum BTC bottom all the freaking way before having real confirmation? Why? Because you're anxious, because you want to give alpha, or whatever. Doesn't matter. We wait until data says, okay, now it's it. That's the time. So again, it's still looking good in the good direction, but it's still not time yet. It's as simple as that. And the longer the base, the bigger the impulse. Remember that. If you want it more vertical, like we had in Q4, you can really retrace it all, because it's not strong enough. It happens out of nowhere, pretty much. And the same way it happened, the same way it went away. Because Ethereum BTC wasn't bottoming, because BTC dominance wasn't breaking any key level. It was just bouncing. Right? So, be patient. You should already have your positions. And the hardest part in the market is doing nothing. Most of the time, you do nothing. In my case, I swing trade on the weekly time frame. The last time I bought, I think it was months ago. And I could buy like 2, 3, 4 times a year at most. And then I just wait for the movement, because I play the high time frame. If you play the high time frame but you are obsessed and glued to the low time frame, what are you doing? What are you doing? You don't start a dieting plan to weigh yourself 20 times a day, right? When you know it takes time. You just wait once a week, and you wait for the process to do its thing, right? Here's the same thing. You waited for a long time for the alt season, just let it come to you. Don't force your emotions and your impatience into the markets. It never works, right? So I hope this recap has been useful. You have everything I expect here, more or less. And if you want more accurate calls or analysis and more frequent, you can join our Patreon. I think it's quite cheap. But if not, it's okay. You can follow on Twitter. I also share information there. I hope you manage to make big money and, again, control your emotions, because that's going to be way more important than technical analysis from now on. So until the next video, take care. See ya.